Welcome to the Resilient Mindset Podcast, an exciting new podcast by Resilience Queen, Justine Martin. Justine is the owner and founder of the Resilient Mindset, a division of the Justine Martin Corporation. Justine draws on her years of experience and knowledge consulting with clients to develop and sustain a positive mindset. Focused on igniting your passion, purpose and power, follow the Resilience Queen each week as she delves into the mind of her guests, exploring fascinating stories and inspiring journeys.
Hello listeners, today I've got Erin Madeley with me. Erin started the Perth Makers Market in 2015 and was managing all the work running this business solo until 2017. When the Perth Makers Market brand grew exponentially and she recruited a team of individuals who Erin trusted with running not only the Perth Makers Market social media accounts, but with her Erin Madeley consulting brand as well. In 2021, Erin expanded again by taking on the Perth Upmarket business and consolidating everything under her company, Market Life Proprietary Ltd. Erin's passion is helping handmade and local businesses showcase their services and wares through events and through education. Erin loves to work with businesses, local governments and individuals to activate spaces and bring events to life, particularly those with a community focus. This can be from small to large events, markets, concerts, food events, or anything that springs to mind. Welcome, Erin, to the Resilience Mindset Podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. So let's get straight into it. What does resilience mean to you?
So for me, resilience is being able to, quickly come over adversity, but also while looking after yourself. So for me, I really look at resilience from the perspective of not just looking at resilience in one aspect of your life, but also across everything that you do so that you don't get overwhelmed, overloaded and collapse in a heap.
Yeah, that's a very good definition of it. So self-care. And we've spoken about self-care in the last few podcast episodes, and it is vital to
very
gaining resilience.
So. Yeah, definitely.
And that helps you, bounce back a lot faster than with the adversity that you're facing.
Absolutely. And I think it's something that more and more we're seeing since COVID is that people are trying to put more of an emphasis on self-care in their lives so that they can look after themselves and the loved ones that they have around them, because we have really needed our resilience in the last few years.
That's right, we have. So what's an adversity that you've faced and how did you draw on resilience to cope?
So I've got a lot of adversities that I could draw on, but I think a big one for me is I had a really terrible experience with people posting negative things online about myself and my business that weren't true. And, this has happened a few times now because unfortunately we live in a world of being online and having that technology and the trolls and the keyboard warriors. And definitely it was something that when it first happened, I didn't really know how to cope with it. And I'm someone who lives with a history of depression and chronic anxiety. And so those sorts of things hit me particularly hard and I don't cope very well. So now I have learned over the years those sorts of things don't necessarily reflect on me, they reflect on others. And I've learned some coping skills to help me build my resilience up and to help me get through those adverse times. So for me, I definitely make sure I turn to the closest people in my life and I have conversations around things, use them as a sounding board. And especially because for those who don't necessarily work in the business with me, they can give me an external perspective that I don't necessarily have in the moment. So having to learn those skills, they've definitely helped me to get over those adverse moments.
Yeah. And that's important, isn't it? And, you learn by your mistakes and you try not to do the same pathway for it. But like what we said, if you're looking after your self-care, that definitely is one step in front of if you're not. And it gives you those coping mechanisms. I mean, if you meditate, if you have a hobby, just even your daily grooming in your self-care, all makes a difference when looking at an adversity. Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree. And it's something that I think definitely in my journey running business has been a very much learned skill. And it's one of those things that when you first start out, I think a lot of people don't put enough emphasis onto learning those skills themselves. They think that they have to just push really hard. And you talk about the hustle and the grind. And I think more people would find more success if they allowed the space to make sure that they're looking after themselves, because then they're going to be able to have more energy to put into those other areas of their life.
Yeah, that's right. You know, sleep is important, making sure that you're getting enough sleep and that you're not overworking, because you definitely don't want to lead to burnout in any aspect of your own life as well. What other coping mechanisms have you used, Erin?
Well, a really unhealthy one I had for a long time was drinking. So a couple of years ago, I gave that up, which was a really, really good one to give up for me. And I think it's a coping mechanism that a lot of people turn to that is not a healthy one. But what
do you
I
think
find,
it's a masking mechanism? I find it as a masking one, not a coping one. It's a band-aid fix for that brief moment of time until the next day where you wake up with that hangover and you feel twice as bad and the problem looks twice as bad.
Yeah, definitely the way that I was using alcohol was not a coping mechanism. It was not healthy. It was really unhealthy. I mean, I think having like one glass of wine at the end of the day is not totally horrible, but when that one glass turns into two, it turns into three before you're able to relax, that's really not great. So for me, I've had to learn healthier coping mechanisms for myself, which I am a massive fan of having big buckets of tea. So I have tea collections that live in my office. I have tea collections that live at home, and I have a plethora of mug collections that I acquire all over the place. And so for me, definitely, I like to drink a cup of tea. I like to relax reading a book. But for me, I need crafting and creativity in my life. And the biggest one I have at the moment is pottery. So I've taken up pottery as a hobby. Ceramics. So I actually can even show you, this is a mug that I made, but I am slowly building those skills, because when you're doing something with your hands, you have to focus on the sensations and what it is that you're working on. And so it can take you out of your head. That's and right. Just help you get back in connection with your surroundings and those physical feelings and sensations in your body, which I think we don't pay enough attention to. So by doing that and you're getting out of your head, it forces you to disconnect from whatever it is that's causing you that stress in your life.
That's right. And I definitely have done that. I took up a paintbrush 10.5 years ago. As my neuro said to me, oh, you better find a hobby. You're going to have a lot of time on your hands, because I was unable to work anymore, according to him. And yeah, you know, fast forward 11 years and I'm running 4 businesses now. But yeah, what did he know? It was his false belief, not mine.
Exactly.
But I learned how to paint, and I've said this repeatedly over the years, that has become my form of meditation. It went from my form of meditation into a hobby and then into a full-blown business. But I know that when I'm out of sorts, I need to get back in the studio and create something.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, you know, ceramics is the latest in a bunch of things. And the way that I actually kind of entered into business was through creativity, making things. And then that journeyed into having a hobby that I, you know, took along to markets and selling. So whether it's sewing or, you know, painting or ceramics or macrame or whatever it is, it's that whole, you know, getting out of that cerebral space and into a creative flow. And I think a lot of people don't realize the importance of having that connection outside of your mental space and having that physical connection, even if it's just, you know, going out and you know, going for a walk or weeding in the garden. And it's just, you know, getting in touch with your physical sense as opposed to your mental senses.
Yeah, and having hobbies is vitally important. I mean, if COVID has shown us anything, it was like when you're not going to work every day and you're stuck at home, you need something to do. Besides 100%. Watching mindless TV, which I've never been, you know, a big TV watcher. It's, find something at home, whether it's doing jigsaws or gardening, growing your own fruit and veggies, painting, drawing, pottery, get some clay, whatever it is that makes you happy, that can take you to that other place and fill the time with happy thoughts, makes a huge difference on the quality of your life.
Absolutely massive difference. And I think it's also really important that when you're looking for that thing, just recognizing that it's not the same for everyone else. And my husband, he's not, someone who's creative in the way of like physically making things, but what he really enjoys is his gaming. So he has like a racing sim and he can do race drivers, and that's his hobby. Yeah. And so for us, it's, you go, well, okay, well, we don't need to have the same things. And, my kids, you look at them and they don't have the same things, and we're all not the same. So why should we expect our hobbies and passions to be the same?
How old are your kids?
They'll be 9 and 11 this year. So they're getting older and more independent, which is wonderful, but also sad.
It is. I can relate. Mine this year are a little bit older than that. Mine are 29 and 25 this year. So, and then the grandies are, what are they now? 12, 10, 8. There'll be one that's 3, one that'll be 2, and one that'll be 1 this year. So,
oh my goodness, you must be so busy.
Well, they have their own hobbies. Their parents have their own hobbies, obviously, to have that many children. However, I just, I'm nanny that likes to paint. As far as they're all concerned, they all love coming into the art studio and creating, and which is fantastic. I love having that creative time with my kids as well. Yeah, my younger boy, he loves doing the ceramics together with me, and my older boy, his passion currently is watercolors, but it changes from time to time as to what he likes to do. And again, that's teaching them coping skills for the adversities that they will face later in life. Because, is resilience a learned skill, or is it something that we're born with? I believe it's both.
I believe it's both as well. And I think it's something that I'm seeing more of in the people around me who are now, having kids as well, trying to teach that resilience of, things aren't always going to go your way in life. It's how we choose to interact with that experience and how we choose to cope with that experience. And I definitely think that it's something that I've had an opportunity to think about and learn more as an adult than I did as a child. But I know that for me, I learned more resilient skills as a child growing up than my siblings did because of my experience with my mental health issues. So I had no choice but to learn that more. Whereas my siblings, I think a lot of their resilient skills definitely come as more of that innate resilience as opposed to a learned resilience.
Definitely. My brother and I are a little bit like chalk and cheese as well. But we had a tough childhood, and what he remembers from it and what I remember from it are two entirely different things. So his coping mechanism versus my coping mechanism, and him he's only 10 months and 3 weeks younger than me. So,
wow, very close together then.
Yeah, that was an adversity in itself, I can tell you now.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so for 6 weeks every year we're the same age. But we're born in different years but have the same parents. But yeah, so he's 50 at the moment and I'm 50 at the moment, so it leads to interesting conversations, I can tell you. So
I can imagine.
Yeah, so it's very funny. Anyway, sidetrack there, let's get back onto resilience. So who are your role models with resilience, and how do they inspire you, Erin?
One of my role models in resilience would definitely be my mum. So we moved to Australia when I was 6. So we didn't know anyone here. We moved from Canada away from everybody. And so my mum had to learn to navigate in a new country with 3 young children with no support network. And on top of that, she suffers from multiple sclerosis. And so she also has had to learn resilient skills around when she's had flare-ups of her MS versus trying to prevent her MS. And so definitely my mum is a massive inspiration to me in that area. And then there's a businesswoman who I share space with in our office area in Perth, and her name's Lucy, and she runs a pottery studio called Not Yet Perfect, which is where I
Is
started
that where
learning.
you're starting?
Yes, yeah. So I started learning from her, but I've known her for a number of years now, and she is also somebody who runs a really successful and thriving business whilst dealing with an underlying medical condition. And so for me, I think I get a lot of inspiration from those people who are like myself and have underlying conditions that they have to navigate their life around and learn the skills to ensure that they have a growing and thriving business, but also while looking after themselves. And so those people are massively inspirational to me. Another one would be Jay Crisp Crow from Crisp Copy, who she's a copywriter here in Perth. She's just absolutely phenomenal, but another person who has built a successful and thriving business while navigating a medical condition. So I think people who manage to do that, but without, pushing themselves too far, at least not on a regular basis. Let's all admit that we do it from time to time.
You say, you don't know me then.
But,
push. And I'm like, okay, self-care. Got to do self-care.
Yeah. And, we all have those times where we're like, we push ourselves too far, we hit burnout. And then I'm that person, I'll huddle in a heap. I'm like, I don't want to see anyone. I don't want to talk to anyone. And I just need to be alone. But, obviously with a husband and a couple of kids and a business to run, that's not,
it's not very successful in that.
No, so I look to those people in my lives who I see, they're navigating the same path as me, and I look at what are some of the coping mechanisms they have, what are some of the resilient skills that they've built up, and can I draw inspiration from that, or can I help share my experience with others so that they can help navigate those areas of their life too. So those people are just significant role models in my life.
And on a subconscious level, you're probably taking stuff in and not even realizing that that's what you're doing. And that happens. We are the sum of the 5 people that we hang around. And so if you're hanging around with the inspirational, positive, goal-focused people, well, then that will rub off on you. But if you're hanging around with people that have no direction in life and they're on their pity party and they don't know what they want to do and they think that the world owes them something, that's the type of person you're going to turn into, because they will suck the living life out of you.
Exactly. And it's something that, if you watch other people surrounding themselves in those sorts of circles and you just want the best for them, but they're not surrounding themselves with those people, that's a really hard thing to watch as well. But it also doesn't need to be the people who are physically in your life, that you surround yourself by. I think something that we all don't pay enough attention to is where we surround ourselves with on social media. So for example, Jay, who I find hugely inspirational, I don't really see her in my day-to-day life, but I follow her on social media. We're in a lot of, social media groups online together as well. We've met in person a couple of times, but I make sure that, when I'm interacting on social media, I try and follow accounts of those people who I aspire to be, or that I can take life lessons from, but aren't, those people who are going to be posting those things that drag you down. And so I think that's something that in this, digital world we live in, more people need to pay attention to is, who are you following on social media? What is constantly coming up on your feed? Because the reality is it's in your face all the time.
That's right. And I produced last year the 10 top tips to resilience. And one of those is fueling your mind. And in fueling your mind, social media was at the top there. And it's like if someone doesn't align with your values, then, and they're friends, or they could be family, you don't need to unfriend them, but you can unfollow. And it's a simple thing, is you can control what you're seeing on your news feeds. I mean, I haven't watched commercial news now in well over 2 years. And if there's something really important, you'll hear about it, or it'll come up on your news feed, and then you can have the choice whether you want to explore more onto it and look at the media that you want to look for it or not. But when you start controlling what you're putting into your mind, so listening to podcasts, the books that you read, the social media that you're following, and even the movies that you're watching, if they don't align with your core values, well, then you have the choice to change it.
100% true. And I can definitely say it's a thing that I've made the choice with a couple of my family members who I love, don't get me wrong, but we have massively different political views. And I can't see that on a day-to-day basis because I know it's going to rile me up, but also trying to have an argument or a constructive conversation with that person, it's not going to come to anything. So I just unfollow it, and it doesn't pop up in my news feed, and it's more pleasant for everyone involved. So definitely,
and if you like me, I've got 2,500 friends on there, so there's plenty of others that I can see. And if anyone says to me, it's like, I'm sorry, I've got 2,500 friends, you don't all pop up at once. So but I'll unfollow for 30 days. So you have the option on Facey to unfollow for 30 days, and then they'll pop back in, and it's like, still don't want to see it. See you later for another period of time. Or, you have changed a bit. All right, I'll start following you again and see. But we all have the choice of what we put in.
Exactly.
What we want to see and what we want to do. So, but there's some fantastic people that you follow there. So your mum and I might have to have a chat one day, because I've got MS as well. So it's definitely something that she was diagnosed in university, and she's the most well sick person you'll ever meet in your entire life. Like you would, and she just looks after her health so well now. But I think it's also been a really enlightening thing as an adult to look at, okay, what are the ways that my mum looks after her health? So making sure that she's getting enough rest and that she's not getting too busy. And she is someone who, like, she never sits still. She is so busy all the time, always fills her time. And so we also get protective of her as well, and we're like, you're getting a bit too busy again, you need to maybe you can say no to watching the kids, that's allowed. But can you talk to my daughter then? But mum, can you have the kids? Mum, can you have the kids?
So
or you go around there and the 3-year-old goes, can I go home with you, Nanny, tonight? All right, my heart.
And I think it's one of those things. It's learning to say no is a skill. It's a thing that we especially like for people who inherently are people pleasers, and I am definitely one of them. Learning that you're allowed to say no, and that's okay. And it's you don't need to feel bad about it. Having boundaries,
you don't need to give a reason either.
No, exactly.
And us as women, men are quite good at saying no. It's us as women that say, if you can get the word no out, it's like, but then I've got blah, 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 this reason here as to why I'm saying no. You don't need that reason. It's just, okay, no.
Yeah, or starting your sentence with, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you don't need to. Yeah,
you don't.
I'm so sorry, but no, you can just say I'm not available, and that's right. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to apologize.
You don't. And women are terrible at saying I'm sorry for things that they're not actually sorry for.
Yep, we all do it. I've had to start making sure I double check emails before I send them and remove those words. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. This is just how it is.
Unless you are genuinely
sorry. Yeah,
that's right. So what are your passions in life? So we know art is creating.
My kids and my family, definitely hugely passionate about them. Reading, love reading. I'll go through about 200 books a year.
Wow.
So, I will preface this with I don't read hardcore literature or like self-development books. I read romance, and it is
you're one of those. I was going to say you can read the last 2 books that I've just had published.
I do occasionally read something that is nourishing for the mind, but I will admit that I'm a big fan of escapism, and I love reading a romance novel.
Self-care.
It's very, very it's a part of my self-care. So they're formulaic, and how it's all gonna achieve, but there is a story, and I do enjoy that. And then I'm very, very passionate about people who work in a creative industry being able to run a successful business and support themselves and their family. So I see so many people out there, and even just within Western Australia where I live, in the greater Perth region and down south from where we are, there's so many people with so much talent, and there's absolutely no reason why people can't choose to support themselves that way. And just helping them build those skills and supporting other people who are doing really cool things. So that's like a massive passion for me. It's a big driver in a lot of what I do, much to my husband's sadness, because he's like, you have a spending problem. And I'm like, but look at all the cool things. And so
that would be my problem too if I was in your business.
Honestly, all my staff who come and work on event days, they're like, all we do is just spend more money than we make working for you. And I'm like, I don't see that as being a problem. I think we're all supporting the creative industry, and that's really fantastic. But that's an absolute massive passion for me.
I love going to makers markets. There's something special about them, and they're made with love and time and commitment and passion. As a creative person, I totally understand that. So we have a couple of markets over here, but one day when I'm in Western Australia, when the borders open back up, I'd love to come and have a look at one of your markets.
Oh, well, we have plenty of choice. We're running all kinds these days. So there's just so much talent here. And because we are so isolated in WA, a lot of the makers and creatives that, come along and make and sell things here don't necessarily get over east to travel around and showcase their wares. So definitely worth a trip out.
Yes, well, I hopefully in the next 12 months can get over to WA when the borders open.
Yes, not long to go.
No, apparently this week for you guys.
Yes, yeah. It's very exciting.
That'll be great. Okay, I've got a couple of quirky questions for you now, Erin. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Yay. What's your favorite pizza?
Oh my goodness. I like to make my own pizza with all kinds of things on it that people would put on a pizza. So, pepperoni, asparagus, artichoke, corn, seeded mustard, pineapple, and lots of cheese.
Nice. I like an Aussie with the normal ham taken off and Virginia ham put on, and then with chicken, garlic, king tiger prawns, and Parmesan cheese. Did I mention pineapple on that as well?
Oh, yeah.
Double cooked. Okay, coffee, tea, hot chocolate, or wine?
Oh, do I have to choose?
Well, you've already mentioned tea.
Yeah, I am also a fan of coffee. I don't have much coffee in my life, but I do love my coffee and can't do without it.
And what's your favorite tea?
I love a chamomile with a hint of lemon or a peppermint. Both of those are some of my favorites.
Have you tried the 3 mint one that's out?
I actually get a lot of hand blended tea that's made locally here in Perth, and so I get one that's like Tulsi, mint, and licorice, which is just
yum.
Amazing.
I love licorice and peppermint together.
Yes. There's one from Cinnamon Girl Tea that's divine, and it's like a mint and licorice blend. And then there's another one that's it's like a relaxing and calm one from a business called the Tea Crowd, and it's just so perfect. It's got like a chamomile and mint, and it's just beautiful.
Yum. I'm allergic to caffeine, so black tea and coffee are not an option for me. It's 30 years since I've had coffee. I ping around enough now.
Yeah, you bounce off the wheel. Yeah, you bounce off all the walls.
Okay, favorite music?
Oh, it really depends on my mood, but I love me some dubstep to get myself motivated, and then I love to listen to classical piano to help relax and unwind.
Me too. What's his name? Da Vinci. I'll inbox you.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the bio as well, who I listen to in the studio.
There's an artist called Franco Robert who has a series of CDs called Piano Spells. And so those ones I find are really just beautiful background, meditative. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, because I've noticed like in the studio, if my clients are all hyper and they come in agitated, I will put on some classical piano and it just calms them down and puts them in that creative space. But if I go and put hip hop on, the afternoon is just a nightmare. So yeah, music does calm the soul.
It sure does.
Favorite food, Erin?
Caesar salad, but very specifically the one my mum makes. So she makes her own dressing, and it has so much garlic in it, my husband refuses to eat it or kiss me after I've had it. But Caesar salad is my favorite food.
Nice. And loo paper forwards or backwards?
Forwards.
Yeah.
And I am that person who will change it into Elizabeth with it.
You'll have to listen to all the other previous podcasts because so far everyone's gone forward, and everyone has said that they're the person that changes it as well.
Glad to know it's not an uncommon issue, but
no. How are you supposed to do the little triangle when you fold it on the roll? That it looks nice. If it's backwards, you can't. Exactly.
Actually, if you look at the patent for when toilet paper was created, it's supposed to be forwards. Yeah.
That's right. Well, Erin, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today on the Resilience Mindset podcast. I wish you well with your future endeavors.
I've had a wonderful time chatting with you.
Awesome. So listeners, remember, stay resilient.
We hope you enjoyed the Resilience Mindset podcast. Remember to subscribe to the podcast to get your weekly fix listening to Resilience Queen Justine Martin. Follow Justine on social media at Resilience Mindset or log on to justinemartin.com.au. And until next time, remember, life doesn't get easier or more forgiving. We get stronger and more resilient.